Most business owners are great at operating, whether that's in the field, belly to belly with their clients. Their purpose is delivering a great product or a great result. However, most of us that own businesses, no matter how good we are at delivering results, aren't good at marketing. It's just not our strong suit. It's not what we're even interested in most cases, especially social media marketing. I know for one, I probably wouldn't have a social media account if it wasn't for running a business, but I understand that in today's age, it's a must-have. It's unavoidable. You've got to have good social media marketing. So it's one of the greatest tools you can use to stay in touch with your sphere or your network. And if utilized correctly, it can also be a great lead generation source itself. It starts with the brand. It ends with the goal, getting it accomplished. So if you're a business owner who could use some help getting social media marketing up and off the ground, then you're going to love today's episode of This is Jax. I'm sitting down with Jaime Frantzen. She is the owner and operator of Tall Palms Marketing Co. right here in Jacksonville. And we're going to get to her story about how she ended up in Jacksonville and how she ended up running a social media marketing company. If this is your first time here, go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button, and leave us a comment. You don't want to miss any episodes. Welcome to This is Jax, a hyper-local podcast. We're going to do our best. We're going to bring on successful business owners, the people who drive the cities, share a lot about what makes our city so great. So you can be confident and comfortable. This is a city that you want to call home. All right, Jaime, welcome to This is Jax.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming in today. We're going to dive into a whole bunch about Tall Palms Marketing Co. I'm excited to hear more about that and where that fits in your life as a mom and a resident here in Jacksonville. But we were talking off camera and before, and you just recently moved to Jacksonville in 2021. You came down from Washington, D.C. So what led you to make that move?
Yeah, absolutely. So my husband is from West Palm Beach. He's always wanted to get back, but I'm born and raised in Washington, D.C. We owned a business up there with multiple locations for 7 years. And through a twist of fate, once we were kind of ready to get out, someone approached us. They asked if they could buy it. And we took that as our golden ticket to leave. And we flew down to Jacksonville for 1 weekend, house shopped, bought a house, drove down 3 weeks later. Okay,
so you own 7 businesses, and then you had an opportunity to sell those businesses, and you drove just straight to Jacksonville. You didn't check out any other areas. You could go anywhere else. So how did Jacksonville become the destination?
Yeah, so my husband's always been a business consultant in the federal sector, and so he threw his resume. We were looking at Texas, Jacksonville, or Miami.
Okay.
And he got picked up in Jacksonville, and so we said, it's where it's meant to be.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place to end up.
Just took off, yeah, and we love it.
That's good. And I guess for you, so you still have family in Washington, D.C., right? Because you're from there?
I do, yeah.
So for you, probably travel-wise, maybe Jacksonville is an easier place than, is it easier to get there from, I would assume,
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Jackson International is straight up 2-hour flight.
Okay.
Super easy.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah, because I know that's one of the things about Jackson International. Sometimes it'll have direct flights, and then other times it doesn't. But either way, it's a great hub to like if you're going to like Germany or something, it's easy just to 20 minutes to the airport. You're in Atlanta, and then you're overseas, right? So it's such an easy hub. But if you get those direct flights, my wife just recently flew up to St. Louis, Missouri, direct on Southwest Airlines.
Yeah,
super easy. And Southwest Airlines is impossible to find direct flights.
Oh, I know. From here.
Yeah, and her family's from Illinois, so that's the closest airport where she's from. So, okay, super cool. So you just kind of ended up here in Jacksonville. Maybe your husband's work had some plan or whatever. Mm-hmm. And you've been here now since 2021, so 3 years. How are you liking it so far?
I love it.
Okay.
I'll never leave.
Okay, cool. And then how old are your kids?
They're 1 and 3. 1
and 3. So you were in the middle of a move and having your first kid at the same time.
Yeah, super pregnant.
Okay.
Moved down.
All right. Okay.
It was crazy.
Liquidated yourself of your prior businesses. What were those businesses that you were in?
Yeah, so we owned a fitness studio that was a proprietary workout class that my husband created.
Okay.
That was kind of a mix of CrossFit meets Orange Theory. So it was barbells, it was strength training, but on circuit-based timing.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had grown it into multiple locations over 7 years. We had a bunch of employees, and we got approached to buy it, and we were like, that's amazing. And we're still on the board. We still help. We still talk to the owner, but it's his baby now.
Yeah. What's that transition look like? Do you have like preset timelines to where you hand it off little by little? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, we actually moved without telling anyone that we were moving because we still owned it at the time, and we were able to run it virtually through all the systems we had already set up. We have amazing employees back there, and eventually he took over completely, and now we're just there to answer questions, really.
In that 7-year timeline from opening your first gym / fitness center, how many locations did you actually end up having?
So we ended up having 3 over 7 years. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now, today, though, you're in the Tall Palms marketing. So first off, that is a very, I guess what you were dealing with before was very like in the flesh, right? Okay.
It was, yeah.
So now you're in the virtual world, in the digital world. What was it that attracted you to social media marketing?
Absolutely. Yeah. So with the gyms, I ran them all full-time. That was my full-time operation. And we hired multiple marketing agencies to really try and scale because it was such a competitive market. We shelled out like a gross amount of money to these huge agencies for very little return. Nothing really came back to us. And I was like, I have a business degree, I have a marketing degree. Like, I can figure this out. We fired our agency. My husband supported me just taking it all over onto my plate, and we were able to scale into 3 locations, really grow the business, over 1,000 5-star reviews, and all through organic social media marketing and some paid advertising. And so once we were done with that physical business, it just made sense to continue doing this, but in a way that I'm even more passionate about it.
Okay. So it sounds kind of like you had your business, and then you had a social media marketing division of that business.
Essentially, yeah.
Right? And then once you left that business, you took the systems, tools, models with you and just kind of established a new business. That would kind of led us into my next question that I wanted to ask really was, what were you doing before? You already answered it. And you had the skills and experience gained. Like, how did it help you transition? So, but to go deeper into that, what did that transition look like? You obviously had the skill set, you had the experience with business A, but now you're creating business B out of a division. What does that look like?
Yeah, so that was actually a very messy, rocky transition of trying to find my way into it, especially being a new person in Jacksonville, having to really get to know the local businesses, figure out what their needs are, what they're missing, how I can actually serve them, and kind of scrappily pull it all together. And then I went back and formed it into a business, if that makes sense. So I made some really good connections, and they were like, hey, I'm really struggling to get my name out there. And I was like, let me help you. Let me take it on. And then once I actually established a few clients that I was helping, then I was like, oh, wait, we need an agency model, and went back and recreated it kind of. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Tell me a little bit more about those connections. What role did the city of Jacksonville play in those connections? Absolutely.
Yeah. So just the people here are so friendly, and they're so willing to talk to you and listen to your story. Whereas in DC, you go to Starbucks, they're mad that they're serving you. They don't want to give you that coffee you just paid for. They don't want to talk. They don't want to hear about your day. So moving down here, I kind of was stuck in that mentality, and people kept being like, hey, are you new around here?
Yeah.
Hey, who are you? And having a baby is also a very magnetic thing. People are like, hey, that's a cool baby. That's
cool baby. Yeah.
So that kind of warmed me up to realize that oh, this is a very welcoming place, a very community-driven place, and was able to make more connections that way. And I joined the little gym with my baby, and it's a bunch of actually self-employed or working moms that take time off during the day to spend that time with their kid, and that just grew into so many amazing connections with real estate agents or other small business owners that are just trying to get some one-on-one time with their kid during the day before they go back to work and things of that nature. And that's actually what grew my personal friendship and business community.
Yeah. Okay. So getting involved with the community, both business and then it seems like they're just kind of one for one, right? Like
exactly.
matched together.
Yeah, it's like the more, even though my business is completely online, that like actually getting out and showing people that like I'm a real person doing this.
Yeah, you said something I think when we talked on the phone, you said something about, you were doing it just virtually at first through like text messages or messages, but then you found that you were getting a better result face to face, belly to belly. Yeah. Expand on that a little bit. Is that kind of just through the gyms, or were there other avenues that you were doing that? Any networking groups, or how else were you getting involved with the community?
Yeah, I learned about, I don't know if you've ever heard of St. John's Moms. That is like a networking group for moms who also own businesses. So I got involved there and different things of that nature. And so I was able to really connect more there and get to know people. And before that, though, like being social media, organically marketing, I know how to grow a following. I know how to reach people within social media. But for my personal business, that could only get me so far. Because people don't necessarily want to give you their passwords and logins if you're just like someone they just know on the internet. You know, like you need to build that trust to take over their business and like shape it for them. So getting out there and being out and about it like really helped. That's
good. That is true. Just building that trust. I talk about that all the time. Like our generation, the millennial generation, maybe some Generation X as well. We're more interested in like who you are than like what your slogan is, what your catchphrase is. And so getting to know you first seems to be like the principle. It's one of the great things about this show, because we're giving people an opportunity to get to know you, get to know, and then you and I get to know each other a little bit more, and then decide like, okay, yeah, like I know you, I like you, I trust you. Now let me know about what your business is, and I'll take your word for it, or I'll look deeper into it, So I definitely appreciate that. Going back to something else you said about everybody being kind of welcoming, you touched on the Starbucks thing. You reminded me of something. My wife, Shauna, all the time will be at like the grocery store or something, and I'll just be talking to someone, and afterwards she's like, who is that? You know that person? And I'm like, no idea. She's like, you literally were just talking to each other like you've known each other like 10 years. And I'm like, yeah, I guess like if you're just that. And she moved down from Illinois originally, and so it was like a totally different world for her to like see that, right, type of thing. And especially being in such like a massive city where, one of the resounding things we hear on the show all the time is this big little town. Yeah. Jacksonville is like the biggest little city. And so it kind of has those vibes. Or even though geographically we're the most far north city in Florida, it's like the southernmost, right? And when you talk about that kind of hospitality. So other than that, what advice do you have? So if someone else is like thinking about making a move, they want to move out of their city and they're looking at options. Hey, should we go to Texas? Should we go to, Alabama or Florida? Like, where should we go? So for somebody like that who's looking to make a move and start a business in a new city, what advice do you have for them?
Absolutely. Yeah. I would say first visit more than I did. Just get to know the area a little bit more. But looking for specific things that are really important to you in your personal life, like community, like having a bunch of kids around, a bunch of kids' activities, a bunch of small businesses. I've never seen a small business community as like large and enriched as the one here in Jacksonville. And you can see that just by going on Facebook and looking up small businesses Jacksonville, small business, St. John's, anything like that. The amount of just Facebook groups you can find or people supporting each other is like incredibly surprising to me, just like not knowing anything about Jacksonville coming here. So I would say look for that, like using social media as a tool to see how people are talking about different areas, what they're posting about, what kind of activities are going on is a great way to decide if it's the right place for your business. But then also if you're looking at it from like a business point of view, your goal should always be to be solving a problem. So if you can look into like, different areas you're interested in and see what those areas are truly lacking, that could be a great way that you can go in and help that community by building a business that perhaps they're missing. Yeah. No, that's really good. And that last bit that you said where you're like, hey, look for what an actual problem is, so it's important to have what your interests are, but if you're interested in something and maybe there's already 10,000 of those companies, like you might not find success. You might not be able to pay the bills on that business, right? Exactly. So look at like, maybe give yourself, hey, these are my top 5 interests. Which one of these
is a need also in this location. That is a good tip. You know what? That actually relates to the podcast world a lot because there's some weird data depending on how you look at it. There's actually not that many podcasts when it comes, like if you view it as a social network or as like a media thing, it's the newest still and like the smallest market. So you can have really good success here. Although there's a lot of people who look at, I'm going to start a podcast just because it's the cool thing to do. Mm-hmm. And what's it going to be about? Oh, I like to talk about cheeseburgers or something. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's just a random example. So even like this podcast, This is Jax, which is really a hyper-local business-to-business podcast, which serves multiple purposes for individuals who are looking to move here, deciding whether they want to have a family here, whether they want to, start a business here. It's for them to listen and get to know the city a little bit and get through the individuals. Also, it's building a business network because you figure, me as a host, I'm keeping track of everybody who's on here. And so as I see you say, hey, I have a need for this, I'm like, hold on a second, my list of business people, let me connect you. Right. So it serves all those purposes. So when we decided to start a podcast, I mean, it took us months, almost a year of planning to decide like, what are we going to do? And it was that same kind of thing, like a hyper local business to business podcast didn't exist in Jacksonville. So like, this is it in the flesh. And a lot of people are doing podcasts over Zoom where like they're interviewing businesses, but it's just random businesses all over the nation. So it's not really like a network, right? So I can definitely relate to that and understand that, that last thing. A trend that keeps coming up or a theme that keeps coming up with you is, you've got small children, you're in the moms group, you've got women-owned businesses, mom-owned businesses, little Jim, you're talking about a lot. So being a mom and a business owner, it comes with its own challenges. So what are some of the challenges you face getting tall palms up and off the ground while, raising small children?
Oh my gosh, so many.
Yeah.
So many. I mean, the first one being, trying to respect this season that you're in life and deciding if pursuing my business or growing my business past where it's at, if it actually makes sense or if I should be focusing just on my kids or should I be focusing just on growing a business, having those multifaceted problems that like kind of only parents have where they're like, okay, I could either pursue my passions or I could put all my energy into my kids, and like kind of figuring out how you can balance the both and how you can make it all work is the biggest challenge. When you have like one kid who's sick and home from school and they are just like all over you, needing to be held, needing all that love, and you also have clients that need to be responded to because their goals matter as well, and figuring out how to balance the both and how to build a community for yourself that you feel supported in if you don't have family nearby. It's kind of all of those layers that like bring it all together. And I've been very fortunate I don't have any family locally. None of them are in Florida. I have 2 kids, absolutely crazy. My husband and I both work full time, but we both work from home. So we can kind of find different ways to balance it so that we either have some amazing sitters that help us or they go to part-time programs. So the kids still are in our lives and they get to see us working towards our dreams. Right. But that it's not like the only focus. Because I don't know about you, but I was raised by a nurse and a construction worker. Okay. So my mom was either in the hospital 12 to 15 hours a day. I was off at daycare from 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. My dad is out doing construction. And so when we are all together as a family, everyone's just exhausted. There's like no balance. And I feel like it's a lot of millennials where they're like, oh, my parents weren't super focused, on me as a kid. So I think like being a millennial parent, like the hardest thing is trying to find that balance where you feel like you are fully focused and involved in both. Yeah. Which is impossible. So yeah. But
still teaching the independent life lessons that we all learned, which was fun.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, being fully involved in both is like the hardest struggle, but finding places that you trust, people that you trust to help foster all of those different things has been really important.
Would you say that's like is that the toughest challenge? Oh, finding the balance?
100%.
Okay. What are so how do you deal with that? What are ways you do that?
So I hired an employee. Okay. So realizing I don't have to run my whole business myself. Yeah. That's one way, so that I have someone who can help me so I don't feel like it's all on me. But then also finding just people that you trust, accepting that like your kids are going to make friends. They're going to be in a school type environment. They're going to be in different environments where that also foster and like help them grow into people.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't have to be all you, has really made the difference. So like my son goes to school 3 days a week. My daughter goes to a sitter 2 days a week. I just pack as much work as possible into those days. And then like everything else, they're like on my lap while I'm doing.
Yeah. Okay. Just kind of making it work.
Yeah, like I didn't bring a pack and play here today with both of them in it, so you're welcome.
Yeah.
But packing and things like this to the days that I have childcare.
I had a pack and play. We went to work yesterday at the office. Needed to do some. Yeah. Basically, I don't know if you find yourself in this time. Everybody who runs a small business probably finds himself in this time. I made a post about it actually recently, but it's that time of the year where you're just like, I'm done. I don't want to work anymore.
Oh, yeah.
But you have to work, and you need a vacation, and you probably didn't really get one. And it's time to start planning for next year. But you can't just, like, drop, generating income or generating business for this year. So you're in the middle of, like, I need a break. I've got to keep running the business for this year, and then I need to plan for next year, which to us leads to, like, going to the office this weekend, like Saturday and Sunday, to get some planning done, because I don't want to take up my time today. I don't have time to do it. And then after this, I got to go, make calls and follow up with clients and set appointments and stuff. So I can't just be whiteboarding, right? So that happens on the weekends for us, which then at the office, we brought 2 of the kids. And so we have one in a pack and play, like taking naps and stuff. And the other one, at least he's like 5, so he's old enough to do it. We have 4 kids from 9 down to 8 months old. So it's pretty crazy time.
That is crazy.
Ready to retire from making children.
Oh my God, yeah.
Myself. So since you've been here, kind of looking back, can you share an only in Jacksonville story, or a moment or an experience that so far kind of basically encapsulates the spirit of the city?
That's a good question. Let's see. Okay, so one time, one of the first times we were visiting, we were staying in Neptune.
Okay.
Because we didn't know anything about the area, and we were like, we'll stay at the beach and just explore. It was kind of late at night, and we were really hungry, and I'm super pregnant, like the biggest belly.
Yeah.
We're hungry, and we wander into a bar where everyone is like smoking cigarettes inside, like drinking. Everyone's like pretty...
Pete's Bar?
Yeah, exactly. Pretty sloshed. And we walk in, and this lady who is just like an angel.
Okay.
She walks up, and she puts both hands on my belly, and she goes, "You're not from here, are you?" And I was like, "No." And she was like, "Let me get you some water." And just disappeared and came back, and she was just a customer. Like,
that's so funny.
Walk there, but I was just like, yeah, we can stay. This is fun.
Yeah, good.
Because, like, if you were anywhere else or any other city, they'd be like, "Get out of here. Like, what is this pregnant person doing in a bar?" And she was just like, the spirit of, like, just let me help you. Let me take care of you is so clear here in Jacksonville. And just I've experienced it so many different places where people are just, like, go out of their way to help you. If you've got your small kids with you, they're just like, how can I help you today versus like, what are you here to give me?
I love that. I love hearing that. That makes me so happy. A lot of these things that you and other guests I've had on the show, and I hear you guys saying it, are things that I truly believe myself. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of, again, it's another byproduct or, one of the lower, less important reasons of the show is me on my own quest to figure out, like, are these just my thoughts or are there others that share in these same thoughts? Mm-hmm. And so when I'm hearing the similar themes and resounding ideas over and over again, it makes me feel good to know that, like, hey, like I'm not unique in those experiences. Other people in our city are experiencing them too. Mm-hmm. Now, I know plenty of, there's still, listen, for the listener out there, like, there's plenty of places you don't want to go in Jacksonville. There's plenty of negativity and things that we have to improve on, or individuals. Sometimes there are some people who are like, There's a lot of holdback in Jacksonville. A lot of people don't want to see change in Jacksonville. There's pros and cons to that we talk about on the show all the time. And some people only see the con side of it. They don't see the pro side of it or whatever. But if you were to change something, speaking of that, like if you were to make a change, like, you've talked about a lot of good things that we all love about Jacksonville, but what's something you would change that you would want to see improved here?
That's a good question. I think the only thing that I wish was here that I have yet to find so far is just an amazing networking space. It seems like there are so many small business owners, people working out of their homes. I wish we had more places other than coffee shops to go that people could work together, be collaborative, in an environment.
Event spaces.
Exactly.
Or clubs.
Exactly.
But not just a greasy nightclub.
No, nightclubs with laptops.
Yeah. I want to open a honky tonk.
There you go. Exactly.
But see, it would be cool if that space also, not just wasn't, was hey, it's available during the daytime. Exactly. There used to be a place called Whiskey River. I don't know if you've ever heard of Whiskey River. It was a small franchise. I think Dale Jr. actually, I don't know if Phil Nesco, he owned it. But listen, okay, Whiskey River, it was at the town center. It closed up, unfortunately. I think Cooper's Hawk is there or something else now. But it was a restaurant. So it was a big space, and they had, I don't know how they had it. It looked kind of like barn doors or something, but they were massive, not just small barn doors like people have in their house. Mm-hmm. We're talking 20 foot tall. And so the space would be sectioned off, and it had booths in it that were cowhide covered. And so you would go there and get, regular pizza and cheeseburgers and wings and stuff. And then at nighttime, it turned into a club. You would go back, and they had somehow moved the booths and stuff out of the way. Yes. And then the doors would open. There were VIP suites and dance floor, and it would either be they had hip hop and everything too. So depending on what night of the week you went there. Yeah. Awesome place. I don't know what happened to it. Closed up. I guess it didn't work. I guess the business model didn't work. But to me, I loved it. It was always busy, so I don't know what the problem was. But yeah, line dancing. That's another place we used to have different places here, and they all just kind of closed up with time. I think the music scene changed and stuff. I would like to see a better original music. There's a lot of big bands that most people don't even know are from Jacksonville. Mm-hmm.
Yellow Card.
Shinedown. Mm-hmm. I think Saliva, so some heavy rock bands, and then you have Red Jumpsuit Apparatus, and then going back to Southern rock, Lynyrd Skynyrd or Allman Brothers spent time here. So you have a lot, and there's a lot more than that. But right now, I don't really see it much. I play music in some bands too, and it's hard. Even I'm where can we play? And it's hard to get shows because there's not a lot of events. So it would be cool if there was a space. I know I'm just going down this. It'd be cool if there was a space that was kind of like what I described with Whiskey River. Maybe not restaurant, but maybe you could do business events or networking events and stuff during the daytime, and then nighttime it was also an event space for some sort of club or something. That's a good idea.
That's true. That and things aren't open very late here. Yeah. Coming from a big city, a lot of food and things close at 9, 10.
This is unbelievable to me that this happens. I have some beliefs I needed, and they're very, from my viewpoint in residential real estate, one of the things, so even downtown Jax, people are I wish there was more nightlife downtown Jax. I wish the riverfront had more stores, and they're trying to get it going. One of the things we're lacking down there is residential space. There's no residential towers. There's no living and stuff. So think about it. If you work down there in those buildings, and where do you go in the evening? You go home to your house 20, 30 minutes into the suburbs. Yeah. Are you going to get changed and go back to where you just came from the workplace to go out to eat or go? No. Mm-hmm. But if you work down there and then you have housing down there, or even if you work somewhere else, but you're I would love to live in a flat, in the city, on the 10th floor or something. I would do that. And then I would just go down and I would walk to the restaurants or to the nightlife. Mm-hmm. So I think that's part of what we're missing. There are some plans to develop that and stuff. But again, at the pace the city moves and the way, we've got a thing where we want it to be right. We want it to be perfect. We want it to be good. And that spills into urban planning and development. And sometimes it's viewed as we held back too long and they need to kind of just let it run its course. Maybe. Have you looked into the history of Jacksonville? We talk about it on the show sometimes, probably on the last episode. I mean, the whole city burned to the ground in the early 1900s.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
All right. So get into the history, because I believe that had a lot to do with, like, once it was being rebuilt, then it was like, let's take our time and build it right. And then that theme, that that slow growth, it's been here ever since. So
is that similar to like, I know in Miami they say that, like, it takes like 3 years to build a house. They said, like, the way that they, like, build and how, like, the infrastructure is set up to, like, build onto the city is just, like, delayed entirely.
I think it's more just like a mindset here.
Okay.
It's the culture and
That's
the mindset.
True. I had to slow down when I moved here.
Yeah, and the locals, some locals, they're not super, and it's a good thing. We're not super welcoming to, like, just change. You know, we want to keep in that thing you love about the city, where the small little town and everybody is, like, nice to you and stuff. I think that's a product of the slow growth.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
In some degree. So
no one's in, like, a huge rush.
So yeah, okay, looking at this, I've got your website up here too. I know we're talking about a ton of things, which is awesome. That's the whole point of the show. Social media management, content creation, marketing strategy call. I did want to touch on these because I myself, my whole business, a lot of social media. Okay. I have guests on this show that just reach out to me in DMs, and they're like, I run a business, I want to get on. And so we connect that way. Now, I know some people use social media as a marketing thing, for lead generation. Others use it as a tool. Like, I say I use it as a tool because I'm not all of my business is centered on past clients and referral business. Yeah. So I'm not necessarily doing paid ads on Facebook or Google or Instagram and getting new leads in, but it is a tool I use to stay in touch with my past clients. Right. Yeah. So when all these, you're here in the flesh, and you're one of the few people that I've physically met that run a social media company, which is pretty cool, because most of them I'm just getting spam emails or spam calls, and they want to run it. And if you even take, like, 2 minutes to talk to them, you find out very quickly that, like, they're like, yeah, we're going to do all this, but you have to send us the content.
Oh, I can't stand it.
So here's what I know. Most business owners, they're good at operating in the field. They're good client to client. They can deliver a good product, but, like, marketing is not their strong suit. If it was, they wouldn't be good at these other things, right? We all have things that we're good at. So they really need to hand it off. And a lot of times they get linked up with other companies. And maybe this is kind of what you were referring to when you said you used other companies early on. And they work with those other companies, and then the companies are like, we'll do the posting, but you got to send us the content. Well, the content creation is the toughest part.
That's the hard one, yeah.
Especially for someone who has zero interest or knowledge in the subject, right? And so I just don't see the point of that, because now I can post it. Why would I pay you to post it if I need your help, like, creating? So when I see social media management and then content creation, that makes me sad. So what kind of, like, I mean, can you give it? I know we only have so much time, but, like, what kind of creation are you doing? How are you, if somebody's like, I need creation and I don't even know where to start. Yeah. You know, how do you take us to the beginning? Somebody who's like, tell me what to do.
Yeah. So the beginning is, like, a very hefty questionnaire into what their mission is, their brand, their target market, who they're trying to reach, why, and what they're providing. Okay. So, because my background is also in branding, and so I used to do, like, full brand design of, like, logo creation, all that fun stuff, making a website that really represents you and makes you look different. But so it starts with the brand, and then we figure out the end goal. So it's kind of odd the way I do this. I kind of like to sandwich all the content into it. Yeah. And it's, if their end goal is simply because they're a brand new business and they need more people to know they exist, okay, brand recognition is our goal, and we work our way back from there. But no matter what, all of my social media management involves a deep questionnaire so that I have a full understanding of their brand, their voice, how they personally talk, how they want their target clients to perceive them and understand them to be, because I am going to be completely in their account. And then we plan content days. So I go with my team, we film all of it, I bring mic sets, I mic them up, I interview them, I would bring on all the talking points and the videography of what's going to be really important and make their target market interested. Then we edit it all, we do it all, and then we're in their accounts and we're posting it for them. We're engaging with their clientele. We're responding to DMs. We're DMing other people. We're doing that full life cycle engagement, so they don't have to touch anything. I have certain clients that don't even log into their own social media accounts anymore because it's all on our team. So
very cool.
We either do that, or people can hire us just for a content day. So if it's like that, they're like, I can post it, but I don't know what I need. We go in, we shoot all the content, we give them a certain amount of edited deliverables at the end. They have a folder, and they can post it as they see fit.
Okay. I like all that. What are the benefits for a company? Mm-hmm. What are the benefits of outsourcing it to a company like yours versus trying to hire somebody in-house to manage it?
Absolutely. I mean, hiring in-house is just always going to be much more expensive, and you also don't know that you're 100% getting the expertise that you're hoping for. In this day and age, everyone has a resume. Everyone sounds amazing on their resume, and you don't know
Chat wrote it.
Yeah, exactly. If that really computes to what they can do. Plus, you have to buy them the software, the equipment.
True.
You have to probably give them benefits.
True.
You have to give them a place to work, whereas we have everything. You're paying us a set rate. We show up, we do our job, we leave, we take care of the rest. We have our own insurance, we have our own software, our own equipment. And you can see our whole portfolio, so you know that we know what we're doing and that we can grow your account. And it's on a contract basis, so we do 6-month contracts, and then we either renew or we go month to month. So it's also not like the commitment you have to an employee.
Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. And it's hard also, it's hard to get rid of somebody that you hire that is not really doing the job. And as a lot of business owners, you make the wrong hire, and then you find yourself paying that person but still doing their job, and that can be a challenge. We hear that a lot in business.
Exactly. Or micromanaging them, or like being like, hey, make sure you post tomorrow, because they're, an employee, whereas
I know when people work with my team for the real estate, like, they come to me and I handle everything. So they're working with the Riggs group, but a lot of the staff that we use, it's outsourced staff. So whether that's the videographer, photographer, right? I'm outsourcing that person. The transaction coordinator, I outsource that to a girl who owns a transaction company, right? So I've got all these different outsourced companies, and then that allows me to be face to face with the customer, with the client, and handle the big, important tasks that they're hiring us for without a drop in service or me trying to manage those companies. I just know hey, it's going to be taken care of. It's reputable. So listen, I have had a blast talking to you.
Thank
Jamie.
you.
Anytime I say that and we're running out of time, it means typically in my mind, it was a good conversation if we're running out of time, because it's oh man, we better wrap this up. For somebody out there, small business owner in Jacksonville or otherwise, I guess they don't have to be in Jacksonville. They could be anywhere, but maybe somebody who wants that personal connection here in our city. But for anybody anywhere, what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Instagram.
It's
all about Instagram. Yep.
Okay.
At Tall Palms Co.
Yeah. All right. At Tall Palms Co. on Instagram. We also got your website. All that's going to be posted in the link below. Thank you so much for coming on to chat with us here on This Is Jax today. Love it. And as always, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.